So, my kid is awake right now, and I'm
Yeah, so is
actually.
mine.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
It's uncharacteristically quiet on your end.
Yeah, this is my third week now that I've been recording with him just awake and in the house, but I changed my mic setup a little while ago, so it's a lot harder to hear outside noise.
Yeah, nice. And he doesn't like come slamming on the door demanding to interfere with what you're doing.
He might, but that's, my wife is there to help distract him, so
Yeah, good.
he might
Okay.
not.
Good, good. Yeah, I don't know. I actually we have been spending more time in the game room lately, which is where I do the recordings. So I have a
Yeah.
baby monitor here, and I'm like watching her just, I don't know, sitting there, I guess, talking to my wife and generally not
The
being too
room.
much of a problem. So,
Right.
uh, yeah, good. Well, okay, cool. So, see, we're figuring this out, this whole baby thing, how to have a life, how to
Yeah.
make things work.
I've actually had a little bit more luck with it this week. I don't know if it's just all of a sudden he's hit a point in his mental development where he's ready to be more sane, or what. But it's been a little bit easier this past week, honestly.
What, like getting him to
Still haven't.
sleep or?
Well, in one way that I still haven't gotten to the point where I'm entirely out of the room when he's falling asleep. But for the past 3 nights at least, I tuck him in and he lies completely still, and he's basically in the same position when I check up on him after midnight, and still pretty much in the exact same position in the morning. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
he's relaxing a lot more.
Hmm.
And so I've been keeping the same strategy where I help him go to sleep by being in the same room, but I've got my PSP in there, so I've been playing Suikoden 2 while he goes to sleep.
And that
Um,
works if there's like
yeah.
so for.
Well, like our rooms are different, right? Like yours is like a traditional rectangle or square shape where you could see anyone from any point in the room. But
Mostly.
ours is like a bit of an L shape,
Okay.
so I can be around a corner and still in the same room as him.
And that's cool with him.
Yeah, he's comfortable with the fact that I'm there and he knows I'm there, but he can't see me, so I can play a video game and have headphones on and it doesn't bother him.
Damn. Sometimes like our kid's been sleeping in our bed for the last little bit, which is
Yeah, yeah.
great. But anyway, if I like lean over and turn my phone on to check something and the light kind of lights up the room a bit, she's
Yeah.
immediately like there, right? Like
Right.
show me some video, show me the wheels on the bus, like just going crazy. So, yeah, that's nice. It would be nice to pull
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah, the L-shaped room is what it's all about.
I
I
guess so,
highly
man.
recommend them for
Yeah.
if you have an offspring.
I got to like build her room into an L shape, just like block
Yeah.
off that corner and have it be make it into an L.
Yeah, like get one of those wall divider things,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
folding ones. I don't know if they have a proper name.
I don't even need an L. I can just kind of sit behind that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Huh. I never thought of put the kid to bedtime as potential game time.
Yeah, I hadn't either until like 2 weeks ago, and
See, this
it's
is the
working.
value of talking these things out. I'm figuring out where to kind of put more game time into my life
Yeah,
while having a kid.
uh, it's perfect. Like we have a little owl light, and you turn the light on, and it'll automatically turn off after like 20 minutes. So like the past couple days, because I'm
Hmm.
playing a game, it's like that light will go out, and I'll still just sit in there until I get to a save spot. It's worked great. And then so he's been a little bit easier to get along with when he's awake as well.
Hmm.
So yesterday I started playing Persona 4 on
Nice.
my PlayStation 3, and I think I got over half an hour of that, and then I also showed Andrea the opening to Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8, just because she's got like no concept of gaming history at all. We managed to pull that off for about like 40 minutes in total with Les sitting there like hanging out with us and not like going crazy like wanting to unplug controllers and turn
Yeah.
off systems and stuff.
Wow. So we're actually I mean not to we could probably take an entire episode to talk about kids or multiple
Yeah.
episodes, but anyway, not my so we're already there for the most part. Like Luca's pretty chilled out I think I don't think there's really any. So
I
sometimes she
like
gets
I like how we're never clear on whether or not our kids are chilled out.
lack of sleep, I think.
Yeah.
Well, she goes through two types of moods. She's always either like totally chilled out, doing her own thing, kind of chilling with you, happy to do whatever, and just running around, not really causing problems. Or she's in like sookie mode, where you have to carry her everywhere, every second. And so at that time, it's hard to like do anything, but
Yeah.
she's not really breaking things or like wrecking anything. So I don't know. It's not the end of the world when she's in that mood, but you're kind of just stuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So,
with that kid, he's super chill. Like if we put on YouTube, like he loves to watch Super Y and Caillou and
Caillou.
a few other shows aimed at kids. Daniel Tiger, he loves.
Oh yeah,
Uh, and he totally like if they ask questions, he'll participate along with them and stuff.
yeah,
But if I try watching guitar videos, he's very impatient about that. Or if I ever try playing video games or anything, he's like totally turning off my consoles and stuff. So
yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, I get a little bit of. So if Luca sees a screen is on, it has to be her thing, or she's kind of
yeah,
annoyed. Yeah, yeah. I get some of that.
yeah. Like if I try to use Facebook on my phone, he wants to steal it so that he can play Toka Kitchen or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. Same here.
Uh, so what have you been playing?
Mostly just FTL, honestly.
Yeah,
I
not getting old.
what's that?
Not getting old yet.
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of the same complaints as before about the whole like the random elements aren't really interesting enough to keep me engaged. So I kind of just click through all the story. So like I'll get to some new place and without even reading the text, like the flavor text, you'll see some message pop up about how some whatever, right? Like some spaceship is full of traitors that support your
Mm.
cause, so they're giving you 10 scrap, and I'll just see the at the bottom 10 scrap. Yep, next. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah. I was definitely at the same point where I would just like click on like if there was ever a blue option, I would just click on it without reading anything.
yeah, I'm kind of there too. Uh, I don't know. I kind of want to just beat it on normal and then move on. It's a fun game. That's not to say I just
Yeah.
like it or anything, but yeah, it's starting to get a little old. I'm actually playing a little bit of Pilot Wings. Yeah,
Right.
I figure I might as well just beat the game because it's so short. So I actually just beat it the first couple levels and saved my password the other day.
Nice.
And then I've just been playing again more Zelda with the wife. We're at the third level in the Dark World.
Yeah.
Considering that she's never played any games ever, and I have not helped her one little bit at all, even for 1 second. I'm actually quite impressed she's gotten this far. That's 5 full levels. I mean, I say I'm not helping her. I haven't had the controller in my hand, so I've kind of said,
Yeah.
this is how you do this puzzle, or this is, yeah, I can see you're stuck, but there's a heart piece over there, that kind of thing. But otherwise, she's done it all herself, including the bosses. So, yeah, that's been good. And then just, I
I
don't,
I find that that's always a challenge for me. Like
what's a challenge?
if I ever watch a movie with someone who hasn't seen the movie and they're asking questions, I like it's like do I answer
Oh,
and
I hate
spoil the
that.
experience? And
I
it's kind
hate
of the
that.
same with games, right? It's like if you've done it and they're asking for help on the puzzle, it's like but you're going to enjoy it so much more if you solve it.
Yeah, I try to find a good balance there. I mean, it's just like anything, right? I can tell. Uh, I don't. If I just said do everything yourself, I don't think it would be as fun for her. And
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we'll go through a few games together, and maybe she'll kind of like stuff and play a game sometime, or maybe it'll for her it'll always be kind of my hobby, but she'll uh, take part a bit and just have fun with it as like a bit of a side hobby for her.
Yeah.
So if that's the level, if she's not willing to get more involved than that level, then I don't think it'll ever be fun for her to just like try and figure out every little thing herself. Like you and I'm sure, if it was 1992 and we had this Zelda game for the first time and had never played it, could pour 5 hours a night into this game and like explore everything and have a blast. For her, it's like if she's not making progress, it feels like a pointless experience. I think like she's not
All right.
so much into the exploration stuff. Which I mean, I'm watching her and thinking, oh, you should check out that corner you walked by, or oh, come on, why didn't you even care about that? obviously suspicious looking tree or whatever. But I don't know. I'm trying to be flexible and give her the experience she wants. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
I
think,
get what you're saying with the movie though. Totally, I hate that.
well, I think that that's going to be a perfect segue into what I want to talk about today, which is Ultima One, because we were both discussing about the games we want to play this year, and it has just so happened that that was on our to-do lists.
Uh
And so I finally made the effort this week to play it, and I'm not enjoying it at all. And I think so. I'm just gonna completely put it to rest. I think I put almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours into it,
huh.
and that's it. I'm done. And I think it's largely because of what we were just saying about how, quote, if it were 92 and we were playing Zelda, it's like it would be fun for us. I'm thinking that I need just enough hand holding that I feel like I'm getting something out of it on my own, but I'm still, uh, just not completely lost.
Yep. Yep.
And I feel like Ultima does not do that at all. Like the manual that came with it doesn't tell me any of the keyboard commands. So I had to immediately like Google search like how the fuck do I play this game?
Yeah.
And then it's like the same way. It's like there's NPCs in the game, but they don't really give you enough to go on to feel like there's a point to the game at all.
Yep.
So
Agree.
as soon as I start having to Google what do I do, that's a point where I'm like, okay, this game is not doing it for me at all.
Especially when you've been doing that Google search like an hour into the
Yeah,
game.
it's like I've got and part of this would be how you play the game at the time, because I believe the game came with a world map, but I of course
Mm.
don't have one, so I had to Google it, and so I've got a browser next to me that has a map of the world on it, uh, and then I've got another tab where I've got like general tips for how to play the game, and I've got another tab that has all the keyboard commands on it, uh,
Hmm.
and it's not fun for me to just have to keep looking at that and I don't know. We can talk about individual mechanics in a little bit. So you say that you have actually played it.
I've actually finished it. Yeah. It's funny, but you're talking about playing it at the same time, and for some reason, I mean, I remember the game, but I didn't remember that that was Ultima. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I was looking at my games I've beaten list the other day, and I saw that Ultima One was on it, and I was like, what? I thought I was gonna start playing that, and I thought about it, and I thought, oh, that. Yeah, that's Ultima One. Yeah, yeah. So I have actually beaten it, and it's funny too because I was thinking about it a bit. It's definitely for me also one of the most difficult games I've made my way through entirely and finished. Like
And you're not saying difficult as in the level of challenge in the
no,
game.
I mean like when you get up in the morning and it's like I just want to go back to sleep, like that kind of difficult. Like am
Yeah.
I really gonna play this? I have this weird obsessive compulsive characteristic, I guess, where I just hate not finishing things. Kind of, especially I don't know. What's hard for me is to like if I'm like if I want to read 100 books or something and I've read 20 and I'm on my 21st book, like I can't read the 22nd book until I finish the 21st book.
Yeah.
I just can't. So I can't like say, you know what, I'm not liking this. I'm gonna kind of just skip this one. I just can't do that. I don't know. I just so with a lot of things. So I can actually tell you the four games I can pop right into my mind is the hardest games for me in my
Yeah.
whole time to finish, and those were Ultima One, Mother One, like the prequel to Earthbound,
Yeah.
and Final Fantasy VIII, and uh, Majora's Mask. Everyone says, "What Majora's Mask? I love that." Oh, I hated that game. So those four. But yeah, Ultima One, mostly probably for the same reasons as you.
Yeah,
But
it's just I mean, I'm looking at it, and so the fact is that this was the first published computer role-playing game. So it was obviously innovative for its time.
mhm.
I can kind of take that perspective of like, hey, look, I'm playing this game. It's got animated water. It's got an overworld. It's got the 3D dungeons. You can buy items and stuff and have an inventory. Like obviously there was a lot of ingenuity happening, but by today's standards, it's just unplayable.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I really don't. I mean, I think it's kind of this is hugely probably just I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like I'm very much infusing my own perspective with my
Yeah.
own like the age I line up to. But I've always thought that the original Nintendo, like even younger people now, kind of can look at the original Nintendo and be like, "Oh, these are so old. Who plays this?" But I feel like the original Nintendo around that era is the first era that's really, really, really replayable. That's when you had
Yeah.
games of length and scope that were interesting. That's when you had games that were like they started really telling stories, and you could save finally. I guess you could save in Ultima One, but like
Yeah, you could
console
say
wise, you could.
one.
Yeah, and just I don't know. It felt like that's when things kind of came together into an experience that was really timeless in my opinion. Whereas like
Yeah.
prior to that, I don't know, the audio wasn't there, and especially in the console side, you couldn't even save for the most part. And on the computer side, it was kind of a different type of gaming experience. There's, I'm sure, lots of interesting things. Maybe I just don't know. But Ultima really tells that story to me very much because
Mm.
if you play any original Nintendo game, you just have this very packaged experience. You know, a lot of interesting music and stuff. I
Mm.
don't know. Like Ultima's like this very quiet blob on the screen, like making
Yeah,
little
so that was
clicking noises as you move around. I don't know.
yeah, that was part of it too. Is like when I launched the game up, uh, I spent about 20 minutes trying to troubleshoot why my sound wasn't working.
You ridiculous guy. Come on.
It's like I launched up. I'm like, oh, there's no sound. What's going on? And so I like go into my DOSBox config files, and I'm like, well, it looks like the sound should be playing. Like maybe I just need to change it from like Sound Blaster to something else, or uh, and of course there just is no music. So,
Yeah, you know, I've played games that have no music and are enjoyable. Like people will debate this, but like for example, Dwarf Fortress is a very interesting
yeah,
experience to me. Um, well, I guess there's kind of music at the start, whatever. But you know, you can make games depending what they're aiming to be. But Ultima, I don't know. It just felt like it lacked something. Probably because, well, definitely because we're going back to it. We're not looking
yeah,
forward to it, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
I think uh, I know you're the one who you demand lots of flavor in your games. I mean, Ultima was just
yeah,
bland. I thought as well, just bland. And I can see
yeah.
someone like in when did it come out? 82 or something? Like back then,
It was
like
81 that the first version came out. I've actually been playing the 86 version, which was
that's the one I played.
recoded in assembly.
Yeah, it's funny. I also played the rebuild or whatever.
Mm.
And the thing is, they only did that for Ultima One. So if I was
Yeah,
gonna actually go through all the Ultimas as I'd originally planned, I would have had to, like when I got to Ultima Two, it would be like the really old one that's like barely
yeah,
tolerable. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm a pretty retro guy. I find some charm in some of this stuff, and I can actually I have a lot of patience to get through it. But
yeah.
I do agree with Ultima. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it all that much, but I think part of that is because I just think they could have done more or something. I don't know, done it differently. Like it's hard to really give a good like I just don't have the perspective. I don't know what it was like to get this game when it was fresh and new and be like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
amazing, or this is who cares, this isn't that amazing. Because for me,
Yeah.
it just felt like a bit of a missed experience in a way. And
Yeah.
maybe they fixed that by the time they got to two or three. Like a lot of people love four, right? Four is supposed to be so incredibly awesome, and like graphically and as far as I know, like sound and stuff, it's the same or slightly better level as like the first one, two, three. It's just
Well,
like maybe the story and the game system is a lot better, which appeals to me, but I just
yeah,
didn't
which
get the.
which is interesting because like I decided to do that like so my I can give you a very brief walkthrough of what my game experience was like here. Um,
Sure, yeah.
I opened it up and started playing. I'm like, okay, the sound's not working. What's going on? And so by the time I figured out what was going on, I also realized that Akalabeth was free on good old games.com.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, since this is free, let's get it. Let's try this out. And so
I'm
I
gonna
gave that.
interject. Did you finish that?
No.
I finished both, so I deserve a little
Yeah.
bit of cred here. Come on.
So I don't so I yeah. So I gave Akalabeth a shot, and uh my notes here are just played Akalabeth. Holy shit, it is not fun. I died from starvation 3 out of 3 attempts. Fuck this. Fuck Akalabeth.
Okay, well, so Akalabeth is the kind of game you look up how to beat it, and someone gives you a
Yeah.
very specific like way to beat it, and then you can just go beat it easily. And if you
Yeah.
don't know that way or stumble upon it, you just die. And I think Ultima One was like that too. Yeah, Ultima
Yeah.
One. That was
Ultimate one is very much the same way. And the thing is once you've looked up the strategy enough to know how to survive, from that point on it's not hard at all.
it feels like you're
And it's
grinding
just a chore.
the rest. Yeah, exactly. The rest of the game is just following those steps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember actually Ultima One. Yeah, I remember you'd camp outside of a cave, so you'd find a good cave, and there's certain
Yeah.
enemies that are easy to kill and yet give a lot of experience, and they're pretty consistently on the same floors of the dungeon. So you just
Yeah.
go down to the fifth floor, kill like 3 of them, come back up, go down, come back up, and I think you get
Well,
experience when you leave the cave. Is that right? If do you remember?
no, no. So the way it works is
Or you get the
like,
food or the
so
money? I
you
don't remember.
if you walk around on the overworld,
Hmm.
there's enemies that randomly spawn, and you
Yeah.
fight them, and they'll do damage to you, and when you kill them, you get money.
Hmm.
So it's kind of, you want to try to avoid that sort of combat because you lose your health as
Hmm.
a result, and you do get experience and you do get gold, but you lose health.
Hmm.
You go into a dungeon, and enemies randomly spawn all the fucking time. So you can just like walk down the hallway, kill like 3 enemies in a row, leave, and the act of leaving the dungeon after killing things restores health.
Yeah, I knew. I remembered it was something. I couldn't remember if it was money or health.
So it's like if you go in, you kill someone, go right back out, then you'll have more health than when you went into the dungeon.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
So
that.
so it's like that's the strategy. You go in, you build up a bunch of health, build up your experience so that you gain levels, and once you've done that enough, you can go and buy the best equipment in the game, and then you just have to go and like do the quests that the different kings give you, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Eventually, you go to
it's
space
it's
or
just it's
something.
just pure grinding.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's just you just have to grind it. The game is very accessible early on, but you just won't be able to do it because you're too underleveled.
yeah,
So it's interesting because like you start playing it and you can immediately start seeing the parallels. It's like, oh, this is exactly where Dragon Quest got its inspiration.
yeah,
This is exactly where Final Fantasy got its inspiration. And to me, it actually feels like it cheapens the experience of Final Fantasy One and Dragon Quest One and stuff because now you can see exactly, okay, this is your overworld, your caves, your quests. That's the game. And they've successfully added more flavor onto it, and they've balanced stuff so that it's not as grindy. But there's
yeah.
really not that much more to it, is there?
Their battle system is very different,
Yeah,
and I personally, going back to those games, like early Final Fantasies, even late Final Fantasies, Dragon Quest, whatever. I think there's too much combat for me personally
yeah,
nowadays. So I don't know if I would prefer like a Final Fantasy game be very I don't know, you could make like story decisions or do things in different orders and it affects things. Almost like imagine you were playing a movie. Like
yeah,
if you were inside of a movie, you're not going to stop to do this epic battle every 5 minutes or whatever, right? So,
yeah,
um, I don't know. But it is a different system, and I guess that's kind of where some of their innovation was. And the
yeah.
story, I don't know. Yeah, no, I agree. It's you could just string these
Like
games together.
now that I've gone back to like the earliest forms of random encounters, it's like, man, this is such a horrible mechanic. How has this persisted for so long?
Oh man, I know.
And it's like it didn't bother me as much. Like I've loved Final Fantasy 4 and 6 and various many other games that have had that mechanic, and it didn't bother me as much. But now that I'm like going back to the source, I'm like, this is just such a cheap mechanic to extend the game time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan at all of random encounters.
And maybe
I don't
that
know who
comes
is.
especially after having just completed Valkyria Chronicles, where it's like there are no random encounters. Every
Hmm.
battle is a uniquely crafted thing, and it's like that felt so much more meaningful to me.
Mm. Yep. Yep. Definitely. I don't know. That's kind of. I mean, if I was to make maybe uh, one of these kind of Japanese style RPGs or kind of like an Ultima-ish game, I think it'd be interesting to make the game have far less combat and only really have combat that is
Yeah.
meaningful. Like you get in maybe there's like a few like battle scenes where your team has to fight some other team or like kind of the equivalent of boss battles, like almost like
Yeah.
boss battles only kind of thing, and then the rest of the game is like maybe survival skills. Like there might be I don't know, it'd be interesting like if you just fought random monsters every now and then. When I
Yeah.
say random, I don't mean like oh random encounter, but like the story kind of requires you to maybe go out and hunt some things to get some survival goods. I don't know. I just like this idea of like just every 3 minutes you'll have a fight. It just feels so
Yeah.
pointless to me.
Yeah. So I part of what makes me want to just abandon this game right now is because I did the same thing before with Shining in the Darkness.
Okay.
I had been playing that on the PlayStation 3 because it came with like the Sonic Mega Collection or something,
Right.
or the Genesis Mega Collection. And I don't know if you remember that game at all, but
I remember it coming out.
I remember playing this, and at the time that I played it, I was like, this is a really unique way of making a game. I'm glad I've tried this, but it's terrible, and I don't want to finish it. And looking back now, it's Ultima with better graphics.
Wow.
uh, so I mean, they eliminated the world map in that, and it's purely just dungeon. But it's the same style of dungeon where it's like this
mm,
3D thing that you walk around in and encounter stuff, and uh, it's I don't know. I guess that sort of thing is just not my style too. Like these labyrinth style dungeons that you have to like map out because there's just no key features that make any section really different from another.
right. I don't know how I feel. I think I'd hesitate to say it's not my thing, but generally it's not. Like I could see myself enjoying it if it was done well.
Like I know a lot of people had that complaint with The Legend of Zelda. Like people would draw their maps to that. And I never did. I felt like each area was unique enough that that wasn't necessary.
Hmm.
Uh
Like we're talking really old Legend of Zelda,
yeah, like the original one.
the original one. I don't remember. So I like played the original one so much, the game is etched into my mind, and I can just
Yeah.
find everything. So I don't remember what it was like not to have that knowledge. So
Yeah.
apparently it was okay because I acquired it. I didn't just get frustrated and stop. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so having played Shining in the Darkness and given up on that, like I've gotten it far enough in Ultima that I feel like I understand the mechanics, and I'm not going to gain any benefit from completing the game,
Right.
other than bragging rights, which I feel like I already have those just by saying that I've played it.
Trust me that I had forgotten I'd beaten it. So the bragging rights thing is you'll it's more of a shame to have spent the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
on it.
Yeah. So I've looked into that a little bit, and I've decided that Ultima 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, Underworld 1 and 2, all of which I own. I'm just removing all of those from my to-do list. Uh, but I actually looking into it, Ultima 4 is different on the PC, but it was released on the Nintendo, and
There's there's there's
I remember
multiple.
liking that one.
Yeah, the Ultimas on the Nintendo. I was actually intending to kind of look into them a bit. So I've played them. I've like popped them into the system and played them. And they're cool. They're really cool. I don't.
Yeah,
I can't give perspective of having played the whole game, but they don't even seem to be remotely the same games. So I don't know
no,
where they
they
fit.
look vastly different, and they look like so. It looks like Dragon Quest was inspired by Ultima, and then the NES versions of Ultima were inspired
Yeah,
by Dragon Quest.
yeah, yeah. But they're like Dragon Quest always has this like simplistic feeling. You can just jump in and kind of play. Like they have some interesting mechanics, like the whole field of view thing, and I don't know,
Yeah,
the combat system's kind of interesting. So yeah, it'd be fun to give those a try.
yeah. So I'm gonna try Ultima 4. I have the PC version, so maybe that's what I'll play.
Hmm.
And then I keep the one game that everyone who's a fan of the series recommends is Ultima 7.
I've heard that many times. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give that one a shot because like I read comments from like 2013 where they're like, yeah, it looks horribly dated and it kind of is, but if you play this, you'll see all this world interaction mechanics and you'll wonder why does no other game ever replicate this. So it's like it feels like I should give that one a shot.
Yeah, and there's two Ultima Sevens, right?
Uh,
There's the
I
Serpent
what was
Isle
the
or
other one?
whatever. It's basically Ultima 7 Part 2 or something.
Oh, no, I knew nothing of that.
No.
I wonder what I own.
Look up Serpent Isle. I actually, just going back to what you were saying, I liked 5 and 6. That's my kind of retro. They're probably, depending on your perspective, everything we've said that it comes as a complaint about Ultima 1 could probably be thrown at these, or maybe, but I don't know,
Yeah.
they're just kind of fun games. I like the exploration, I like the interaction in those games as well. Really, for me, when I was starting on Akalabeth and Ultima 1, I was really looking forward to getting to number 5 and number 6. Those are my two I was looking forward to. Because I haven't played them extensively, but I did enjoy them when I was playing them. So
Right. Yeah, it turns out I
maybe,
do own both Ultima 7s.
yeah, yeah, of course. Expect a long experience. I think together they're like 150 hours or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Don't discard 6 so quick. Or maybe you hate it.
We'll
I don't know.
see. We'll see what I think of 4
Yeah, that's fair. That's
because
fair.
4 seems to be the one that everyone recommends. So if I go with that and it turns out not bad, then maybe I'll give 5 a shot after all.
Yeah, in my feeling, having played maybe at most an hour of each, I feel like four, like one, two, three, four, are kind of built in the same way.
Yeah.
Which is having obviously we're not big fans of one, so that might be a strike against four. But then probably five, six, seven are the same way. Like they just feel like a different series almost.
Hmm.
So I don't know. See how you think.
Yeah. Well, I'll look into it.
Cool.
But yeah, it's yeah, I can't fully endorse uh playing to completion Ultima 1.
Neither
But
can
you
I.
know what? I'm glad I did try it. Like it is cool to step back in a time machine and see what started it all.
Yep. Fair.
It's interesting reading about it too, because like I looked up a little bit of the history and like with Akalabeth, I think the Lord British Richard Garriott, I think that was a high school thing that he did.
And he only sold it in a few stores and was selling it in plastic bags or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it like totally took me back because I remember buying like Wolfenstein 3D in like a Zeller's, I think, and it totally came in a plastic bag. Like I'd forgotten all about that world of PC games being sold in Ziploc bags.
Yeah, man. Warcraft 1, Kmart for me
Yeah.
on a Wiz shareware disc. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah, the shareware discs were it was fantastic.
It was. It was.
Uh it's great cuz I I I honestly forgot about that time period where that's how you bought a game. Uh even though I should have remembered that recently because I told you that I was reading through that uh, console wars book
Yeah,
and like Sonic 2 I think was the first video game that ever had like a release date.
yeah. Wow.
Like that was the first time where they were like, okay, we're gonna release a game on the same day in every store across every country.
Funny.
Before that, it's like if Nintendo was releasing Mario 3, it's like you just had to hope that your store had it. And maybe the Nintendo store in New York was going to be the first one to have them all, and you had to just wait a couple months before it would even make its way to Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it was, I guess, maybe nice to be a kid and just be oblivious to a lot of this, kind of.
Yeah,
Except when your favorite game is just nowhere to be found. I don't know.
I still remember that though. Like now that I'm reminded of it, like I remember how that used to be a thing for like people in Toronto would drive across the border and buy the stuff in New York. and that was why. It was like you just that's how you got it first.
Yeah. Well, I remember when, so like you still had a significant, maybe like at least more than half of the games being made on the consoles were from Japan. So you had people
Yeah.
like importing
Yeah.
Final Fantasy or importing this awesome new Konami game or whatever, and they'd be in like the store, or there were certain stores that actually shelved the stuff, and it'd be like so incredible to go in there and see the future, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gamezilla did that, didn't
Gamezilla? I don't know. I remember my grandmother in St. Catharines, Ontario. There was a house, there was a store right down from the street from her house that did that. So every time I visited my grandmother, it was like trip to the game store, awesome. I don't
I
remember
I
anything in a
I
row.
I feel like the first time I ever saw Final Fantasy VII on a shelf, it was with the cover that was on the Japanese title. And at that
Hmm.
point, I didn't have a PlayStation, so I just felt like that they must have imported some games. Um,
Maybe like specifically like Final Fantasy VII was kind of one of those games,
yeah,
like historic event type games. So maybe it was that.
yeah. Um, anyway, so yeah, I've put about 5 hours into the Ultima franchise this week, and it's made me take about 300 hours off of my backlog.
Well put. Well put. That must be that was the fastest. That's the most productive gaming you've done in a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Yeah,
Uh,
honestly, not a lot of news for me. Just I've been
no,
doing a lot of kind of random gaming, just popping in different games out of the library and seeing what I like, but nothing really has come of that. So it's fun
yeah.
playing with wife and daughter.
I completed Valkyria Chronicles. I can't remember if did that last week or this week, but I completed that one. Uh, I would heavily recommend that game. It's got a couple of bugs in it. Like there were a couple of ladders that I would climb up and then just fall through the world.
Hmm.
Uh, and there's a couple of the fights were scripted in a way that you just would completely get devastated until you tried it the second time and you already knew what the enemy was going to do.
Hmm.
Uh, but that said, there's a lot of unique mechanics in that I haven't seen any other game do that I would seriously recommend anyone play it just for the mechanics alone. But also I
Hmm.
enjoyed the story. So
Cool. Cool. How many hours total did it take?
30 something.
Cool. Cool. Well, I checked my list here and I do own it. So, with your recommendation, perhaps I will give it a shot.
It's one of the more unique games that I've played.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
I'm really happy that I tried it, and I wouldn't have ever bought it if I hadn't have just got it as part of a humble bundle.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
uh, that was fun. So I and then so you know, realistically, I shouldn't be talking too much about Ultima in the first place because that's an EA product and I work for them, and so obviously my opinions are my own and not representative of my company.
I didn't even
Um,
know. I knew they were Origin back when that was a thing.
yeah, EA bought them a while ago, and then I don't think anything's happened with the franchise since
Hmm.
'99.
Hmm.
Um, and then of course the game that I recently worked on has gotten some press coverage recently, and I won't really address that. Um, but one of the criticisms that I did hear from Kotaku was that anyone who is interested in UI design needs to play Persona 5,
Okay.
which so two things interesting about that. That's coming out in April, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually play this. I really should be playing some newer games. So I considered pre-ordering it.
Okay.
Went to the Best Buy website. You cannot pre-order it in Quebec because it doesn't ship to Quebec because it doesn't have French.
Yeah, I knew that was before as you started telling me the story. I thought that's what you'd say.
That's it's like against the law for the games to
Yeah.
be sold in stores here if they don't have French. So apparently I can still pre-order that, or I can order it if I wanted to do it through Amazon or something. I can have it shipped that way since I guess they don't have a physical store.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I was like on the fence of pre-ordering that, and then I realized I've already got Persona 4 on my PlayStation 3 that I bought last year. So I may as well play through that. So that's going to be my next game that I play at home.
Nice. Saved by backlog then.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um, does that kind of thing
what were you
go
gonna
go
say?
on? Well, I was just gonna
I
say,
was
does
gonna,
that kind of thing make you slightly maybe reconsider the choice of living in Quebec at all?
no, because I very rarely buy physical games to begin with,
Well, I don't
and
mean specifically to games. I mean, in general, you're going to maybe encounter that kind of thing across your life
maybe
where, yeah.
I can't enter contests and stuff because the lottery commission wants 10% of any sort of contest prize. So the vast majority of contests available to Canada and US just aren't allowed in Quebec. Uh, but that said, I never buy lottery tickets and stuff anyway, so it doesn't affect me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it doesn't matter. That's actually another thing is I have finally started taking some French classes. I decided
Cool.
that I wasn't going to learn French, and then I decided to take French. So I'm 2 classes in right now. So hopefully, eventually, I'll feel comfortable in the language. Uh, and yeah, that's I guess that is about it. That's my news for the week. Is I'm 2 hours into Persona 4, and I'm gonna start playing through that.
Very good. Very good. I have, as you know, kind of had some job changes happening, so I've been
Uh
quite
huh.
busy with that actually. But uh, things are in the clear now, so I'm hoping to get some good time in the coming weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Anyway,
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess
cool.
that wraps it up for this episode. Your
Indeed.
attitude and my attitude seem to be pretty mirrored on only play Ultima if you're looking for a history lesson, not a rip roaring good time.
Yes, we differ slightly in that maybe I'm crazy. You're reminding me of my experience, and it's putting a bad taste into my mouth. But I had intended to at least give Ultimate 2 a stab and see what I thought. If they'd kind of changed some of the things that made it a difficult experience the first time. I
Yeah.
don't know if that'll happen. It's not on the horizon soon, but maybe someday.
I guess you could
Whereas
at
you, it
least.
sounds like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not on the table for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you could always just stick it in for 10 minutes and see whether or not anything's different.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps up this episode. We'll see
Alrighty,
you next
day.
week.
Indeed. Cheers.